Literary Criticism and Practical Criticism. This is a program for BA students, optional English, 5th semester, University of Mysore, session 26. Here in this Literary Criticism and Practical Criticism, we are discussing Tradition and Individual Talent by T.S. Eliot. And the objective of this chapter is to introduce the students to the essay Tradition and Individual Talent. Here, the students will understand the concept of the tradition and individual talent and examine their function in the creation of poetry. So, let us have a briefing about the biography of the writer. T.S. Eliot, Thomas Stearns Eliot. He was a great poet, essayist, publisher, playwright, literary critic, and editor, and is considered to be one of the 20th century's major poets. He is a central figure in English language modernist poetry. Okay, so here he was born on 26th September 1888 in St. Louis, Missouri, United States. And speaking about his parentage, his father was Henry Ware Elliott, who was the president of the Hydraulic Brick Company, and his mother, Charlotte Champ Stearns. She was a volunteer at the Humanity Club of St. Louis, and she was also a teacher. So, most of his education was done in Harvard, including his master's and undergraduate degree. He also received a doctorate degree in philosophy. So, these are some of the other informations about him. In 1915 he married his first wife, Vivian Haywood, and he began to work around 1917. He began to work at Lloyd's Bank in London, and in 1925 he left the bank, and in 1927 he converted to Anglicanism, and in 1933 he separated from his first wife. So these are some of the major publications or the notable works that he has published. That is Prufrock and Other Observations, which came out in 1917, Poems in 1919, Sacred Wood in 1920, The Wasteland in 1922, Ash Wednesday somewhere between 1927 to 30, and his selected essays which were published around 1970 to 1932, Four Quartets in 1943, Murder in the Cathedral in 1935, The Cocktail Party in 1950. So these are some of the major awards that he won. To mention a few here, in 1948 he won Nobel Prize in Literature, and he also got Presidential Medal of Freedom, Tony Award for Best Play. Okay, and this Tony Award was actually won for the best play, The Cocktail Party, and Tony Award in 1983, which was for the best original score, and Tony Award for best book of musical 1983. So he has won a number of prizes to his credit, and to top it all, he is the Nobel Prize winner. So that should explain it all. And again, in 1957, he married Esme Valier Fletcher, and who had been his secretary at the publishing house. And in 1965, he breathed his last in London at the age of 77. And what is special about, or the ideological contributions of T.S. Eliot? What is that impact that he gives on us? See, he is one of the most towering and dominating man of letters of the 20th century. And he was a versatile genius who, during his long span of productive activity, achieved distinction as, poet, playwright, journalist, and critic. Okay, Eliot stands in a long line of poet critics, beginning with Ben Jonson and including such names as Dryden, Johnson, Coleridge, and Matthew Arnold. Such critics know the mysteries of their own art and so can speak with force and conviction. Eliot's critical pronouncement, first published was largely published in the form of articles and essays and numerous periodicals and journals of those days. The value of Eliot's criticism arises from the fact that he speaks with authority and conviction, and his prose style is as precise and memorable as his poetry. He has been largely responsible for the revival of interest in the metaphysical poets of the 17th century. His rare gift of crystallizing his thought in his striking, trenchant phrases which has gained him wide popularity and appeal. So those phrases are disassociation of sensibility, objective correlativity, unification of sensibility, and so on. Okay, which has gained wide currency. And this most noted essays is the one we are discussing, Traditional and Individual Talent, first published in 1919, and Hamlet and His Problems, which came out in 1920, and Metaphysical Poets in 1921. Now, let us have a briefing about what this essay actually speaks about. Okay, this was written by Thomas Stearns Eliot. Okay, he is somebody who is very important personnel who contributed to the school of new criticism. And this essay was first published in The Egoist and later in Eliot's first book of criticism, The Sacred Wood, which was published in 1920. What does it majorly deal with? This particular essay discusses the relationship between the literary tradition and the poet, as well as that between poet and poetry. Okay, so here what has been dealt with: the concepts of historical sense and tradition, interdependence of past and present, impersonality is in art in general and poetry in particular. Here, Eliot argues that art must be understood not in vacuum but in context of previous works of art. Eliot also says that tradition does not mean a blind adherence to the ways of previous generation or generations. Tradition, in the true sense of term, cannot be inherited. It can only be obtained by hard labor. This labor is the labor of knowing the past writers. Okay, students. So, he actually, for him, tradition does not mean a blind adherence to the ways of previous generation or generations. Okay, this actually would mean a mere slavish imitation, a mere repetition of what has already been achieved. And novelty is better than repetition. This is what he believed in. So tradition, in the sense of passive repetition, is to be discouraged, according to T.S. Eliot. For Eliot, tradition is a matter of much wider significance. Tradition, in the true sense of the term, cannot be inherited. It can only be obtained by hard labor. What is this labor? This labor is the labor of knowing the past writers. It is the critical labor of shifting the good from the bad and of knowing what is good and useful. So tradition can be obtained only by those who have the historical sense. Okay, the historical sense involves a perception, I quote, not only of the pastness of the past, but also of its presence. One who has the historic sense feels that the whole of literature of Europe from Romer down to his own day, including the literature of his own century, forms one continuous literary tradition, unquote. Okay, he realizes that the past exists in the present and that the past and the present form one simultaneous order. This historical sense is the sense of timeless and the temporal, as well as of the timeless and the temporal together. It is this historic sense which makes a writer traditional. A writer with the sense of tradition is fully conscious of his own generation, of his place in the present, but he is also actually conscious of his relationship with the writers of the past. Okay, so in brief, sense of tradition implies a recognition of the continuity of literature, a critical judgment as to which of the writer's past continue to be significant in the present, and knowledge of the significant writers obtained through painstaking effort. Tradition represents the accumulated wisdom and experience of ages, and so its knowledge is essential for really great and noble achievements. So this is what T.S. Eliot says about all the three things that we discussed now. And moving further, we must understand that this essay is actually divided into three parts. The first part gives us Eliot's concept of tradition, and in the second part, it developed his theory of the impersonality of poetry, and the third part is in the nature of a conclusion or summing up of the whole discussion. Okay, so whatever we are doing in here, the concept of tradition in the first part, the theory of impersonal poetry in the second part, okay, and the concluding part, which is about modernism, which turned into postmodernism. So to conclude, we can say that Tradition and Individual Talent is an essay written by T.S. Eliot. According to him, the emotion of art should be impersonal. The poet reaches this impersonality without surrendering himself wholly to the work to be done, and he is not likely to know what is to be done unless he lives in what is not merely the present but the present moment of the past, unless he is conscious not what is dead but of what is already living. Okay, so with this, we have an idea about what exactly is T.S. Eliot discussing in this particular essay.